Hey everybody, welcome to Unscripted. We're all about inspiring better conversations and thinking more deeply and critically about faith, life, and leadership. And here I am today with Mr. Pastor Daniel Clark.
Howdy. How's it going? I was trying to combine those two things there.
It's going great, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Awesome. I've got some fun questions to talk about today. So,
all right.
This is kind of a segment that we do. It's a round table at a square table, and it's just the two of us today.
Yep.
And the point of this is basically just to talk a little bit about what the sermon series has been at the church for a little while. And this has been a really interesting one. I've been just loving it. It's the life you actually want as opposed to the life you've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Because everybody tries to sell you on the life you've always dreamed of, but in reality it doesn't really measure up to what you think it is.
Never.
And so I thought I'd kick off today with a fun question for you.
Oh boy, all right.
What is the life you've always dreamed of? Like if you were to describe that, what would that look like? And I'll let you think about it for a second because I'm going to tell you what I would have. Okay. Because I've given this a lot of thought.
All
right. So for me, when I think about the life I've always dreamed of, location is everything.
Yes,
okay?
Most definitely.
So for me, I imagine being at the base of a mountain on the ocean.
Wow.
Right?
Very,
can you imagine that? All right.
It's kind of like Hawaii. Yeah.
But it gets better, okay?
All right.
It's not just at the base of a mountain on the ocean. It's in a treehouse.
Oh,
you live in this gigantic, amazing, wild, huge tree of a tree house.
Yeah.
With tons of different rooms, swing from ropes.
I love it.
The whole thing.
Dude.
Gets better.
All right.
There's a garage at the base. You don't have to jump off the tree. But there's a garage filled with all the recreation equipment you could ever dream of. You have mountain bikes and ski stuff because there's snow up there too. Because of course. I mean, if you're gonna live there, that's where it's gotta be. And there's just all the different gear you could ever want. Gearheads going crazy. Yeah. That's all there in the garage. Yeah. And then there's this amazing fire pit. There's no bugs. That's the life I've always dreamed of. This is just a little touch, a little taste, but I thought I'd maybe help you get your wheels turning. Yeah. I'm curious for you.
Well, I love it because, we have gotten up on stage to talk about this life we actually want.
Yeah.
But, we're human.
Totally.
So, there's still, dreams that everybody else has dreams of things and, the things that we want to make our life exciting. I laughed so much when you said that because you just described, camp life.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. But air conditioning and all the things.
Yeah, well, some camps have that.
This is true. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think those are never the camps I went to.
Oh, right. Camps have changed almost. That's a whole other story.
Life you've always dreamed of, man. Tell me.
It's almost picture perfect. It's actually really crazy. I laugh so much because Lindsay and I our dream is to start a camp.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that is very similar. We're really torn. We love Montana, mega mountains, best mountains in the U.S., right?
Sure. I wouldn't know, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah. They get feet on feet on feet of snow. It's amazing.
Sounds epic.
But the extra funny part is that this camp that we're dreaming of starting, one of the unique aspects of it is that the cabins that students stay in would be tree houses.
Of course they would be. That'd be amazing, right? You're going to have a tree house.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, dude, man, the dream life is just out in the woods, camp life where we're leading trips and gear. It
always comes back to the gear. I totally agree.
Oh, man. There's something special about some fresh new gear.
It's so true.
Yeah. But, man, huge family, all working together for the same purpose, the same goal. It's a huge, huge dream of mine is a family united together for the same purpose. That's just everyone is got unique talents, and there's so many of us that we could just do it all. You know what I mean? And
thinking 30 kids.
That's a bit of a stretch, but 10 would be good. I don't think we'll get there. But really, I think the dream life for me has always been about family.
Yeah.
And the community that is forced within family. I think we're in a world where community is really difficult to accomplish.
Yeah.
People don't want it. They want like this kind of sense of community, but they are afraid to be real and vulnerable in a genuine sense of community. And if you have a really big family,
you have to be friends, right? Like you're not friends, but
the vulnerability is guaranteed, right? You know, you just see it all.
It's interesting. So this is what I love about you is you went from the life that you've always dreamed of, and like maybe like in a like place, location, that kind of a thing. But just because of who you are, and I think like this desire you have to live a certain kind of life, it actually steers us right into the life you actually want, which is a difference. And it's funny because for most people, they would want a life without conflict.
Yeah.
And yet what you just mentioned requires so much conflict because you just have to discuss things. You have to get into the nitty-gritty with people. Yeah. So what I love about this conversation is when you start talking about the life you've always dreamed of, it's not the same for everybody.
Yep.
And when you get into the stuff you really want, there's things that are required to get it, like conflict.
Yeah.
Like putting yourself out there, like sacrifice, like doing things and hard work over a long period of time to get there. These are the realities of earning and finding that life you've always dreamed of. But in the series, it was different than that a little bit. So I'm curious, as you've been in the series and listened to the series a little bit, last little bit, tell me what you've noticed. What surprised you about it?
Oh, man. It surprised me how much I needed it.
Yeah,
you know, like,
same here.
We can be in it. We can know that, like, peace comes from God, not anything around us. But practicing it is much more difficult, and, like, seeking out in that way is much more difficult, and you need to be reminded constantly. And like even today, got back from vacation, loaded schedule.
Loaded.
I'm like, oh man, wow, okay, here we go again. And just like turning to God in prayer and seeking that peace. And like there's like the trust aspect of peace. Like peace doesn't come if you don't like really trust in his sovereignty of it all, or his man, how much I needed it the most. The question was, what surprised me the most?
Yeah. Totally. And it's actually been the same situation for me. Come up with these ideas, right? Like you feel like God's leading you towards a certain type of sermon series, and this is one that I felt very certain God wanted us to do. And it's called The Life You Actually Want, but the reality is it's just been a walk through the fruit of the Spirit.
Right.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and so on. What it surprised me was as I sat down to actually write sermons for this, I was reminded of just how much we can't work our way into these things or try our way into these things. Yeah. These are things that for you personally, you have to experience from God in order for them to grow and develop inside of you. So it's kind of like being a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't get to reflect anything unless you actually get to experience it. Yep. So the only way to reflect God and his character is to experience God. And when we experience God and his character, that's when the characters of God, love, joy, peace, patience, actually come out of you and you're able to reflect them. And the more you can experience those things, the more you can reflect them. And it's really beautiful. But we live in a world where that is so counterintuitive. You're just supposed to try harder, figure it out. And I think that's such a interesting concept to think about.
Yeah. And man, one thing you just said was like, you have to experience it, right, from God. But how do you experience it?
Yeah.
By going through the opposite, right? The
conflict. That's an interesting idea, yeah.
You know, why is community something we desire so much if it's so difficult? Well, there's the ebb and flow. When you go through really rough things, it makes the really amazing things all that sweeter. We can't experience God's joy unless we go through something really, really difficult and we turn to him in that, and he says, yeah, but look at, I with this blessing, or like, let me walk you through it. Or peace, you can't experience God's peace if life is always peaceful.
Yeah, right? It's super true. Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, we've got one left when we're recording this. This will come out after the final one of these. Okay. The last one is on faithfulness. So it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for it. You've probably already experienced it. If you haven't, you can watch it online. But you talk about faithfulness and talking about just experiencing those things. When you experience the lack of it, I think you're right. Like the lack of it, there's something really beautiful in experiencing it from God. So faithfulness is interesting because it deals with promises. And I think a lot of people have experienced broken promises from so many people in their lives.
Yeah.
So when they get to hear about a God who doesn't break a promise, that's like this deep, profound change in them because they finally find somebody they can trust.
Yep.
And you talk about peace, and you can't have peace unless you trust God.
Yep.
And you talk about community, and you can't experience good community unless you actually do the work it requires to be in it and have that kind of stuff.
Gentleness.
Yeah.
Self-control.
Which was this last week, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was good stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so that surprised you the most. I mean, I'm curious a bit more about this community thing for you.
Okay.
So this is a little bit of a tangent.
Sure.
You guys really desire to have really important and healthy community, stuff that you actually get into with each other.
Yeah.
And you described like vulnerability and that sort of thing. Those are a bit of buzzwords, but
sure.
what do those words mean to you? Like, how does that actually play out?
Sure. Man. I mean, to start, it's difficult, right?
It is.
You have to, it's a bit like leadership, right? Like if you are going to lead people in a direction, they need to know that you've already been there.
Yeah, totally.
In a community or in a friendship, if you want a friendship, a community that is vulnerable, that shares the tough parts of life with, that we can encourage each other and like bring food to each other because we know that something really rough just happened, or they can watch your kids because you're really struggling at work. If you want a community that is going to be vulnerable in that way, you got to then be vulnerable. And that's the scary part, and the part that so many people are afraid of participating in, because that requires them to share ugly parts of themselves or things that they're not comfortable with even being in for themselves right now, you know? So it's something Lindsay and I crave. I don't know why or what in our being that like has made us this way, but we seek it out, and it starts with like us. And like if you want quality community, it starts with yourself. Yeah, you got to be the kind of person. I think you said this once. You got to be the
I probably said something really smart like this before.
If you want to you got to be the kind of person you want to surround yourself with, or something like that. Yeah. Whatever. So.
Yeah. I think that's really a helpful thing to say, because I think people crave it.
Mm-hmm.
I know they do.
Yeah.
I know that one of the biggest comments I hear from people when they walk into church or they leave church is, I didn't feel connected there. And it's real. Like, I get it. Some places just aren't very welcoming.
Yeah.
So that's a legit thing.
Yeah.
But it's always been a thing that I think has happened really well here in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not saying we're perfect. We're not. But this church is made up of people that have experienced enough of life that they're not going to pretend.
Yeah.
And that's a really helpful thing, at the very least, in making it feel like a welcoming place, because people from every walk of life walk through these doors and love it.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. But I want to keep talking about this for a little bit more, because I think what you say really has to do with the life you actually want and these fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Because the only way for you to develop these things and grow these things in your life is to, one, get them from God, and two, practice them with other people.
Yes, right. Yeah, our faith is not just for ourselves.
Exactly.
Like, it's not about me being gentle with myself.
No, it's not. Which is, it's okay to be gentle with yourself, but you got to do it with other people too.
Yeah, like peace, right? Like, so the sermon I gave on peace, it was more about having inner peace with the things going on about you, but it's supposed to also be so that you can be peaceful with others too. Right?
Exactly.
And that requires a community that you don't necessarily disagree with. They do things differently than you, and hey, that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, wild concept there. It's okay
to disagree.
And you can have a conversation, and you can say, I agree to disagree. It's all good. Let's go have some pizza. Yeah. I like pizza.
I don't know if you experienced this or not, and I think you said you did. But for me, going through all these different things over the last number of weeks, it's always been the case that for whatever reason, that week required a huge extra dose of each of those things. And it was just wild. Like, it was just such a real thing.
Yeah.
But I think that was really good because it was a reminder that these things grow because you have to use them.
Yes.
And you have to let them like sink in. And it's not just something you just say. It's something that like comes out of your character as you grow these things.
Yeah. And a super helpful thing to remember is like, Lindsay and I talk about this often. Like, this is our goal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we're there or we're ever going to be like fully there. And we have to give ourselves like permission, like, to mess up because
Absolutely.
we're human. And then say, like, okay, let's use like a husband-wife situation, right? And gentleness and self-control, right? Yeah. That's our goal. The life you actually want is a life filled with gentleness and self-control. It's an activity that you practice, but practice means that you fail, right?
Most definitely.
And when we're talking with our husband or our wife, we have to create the environment to say, hun, like, you weren't very gentle to me. And I know this is what we're working towards, and so I forgive you. And I wanted to call it out so that you recognized it. But like, I know that your goal is for it to get better. So I wanted you to recognize it, and now you can like think about it and work toward it the next time. But I forgive you. I've moved on. Like, I forgive you, and let's do it, you know?
Do you say that like in the moment with like a really loud voice? Is that what you're going to do that?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
I was just curious.
No, however, that's like the bedtime talk.
Okay.
Remember that one sermon? I was like, she's always trying to talk to me when I go to sleep, and I'm like, not about that. Those are usually those conversations.
And this is where you practice patience,
and
yep. She's practicing gentleness. You're practicing patience.
It's practice, though.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Yep. And a community involves grace, which we experience from God, and then we can reflect that, right? Yeah. It's a whole circle.
Yeah, it totally is.
God, reflection, practice, forgiveness, God, reflection.
Hey, you should like diagram that. Totally. Oh man, this is really good. So the last thing I want to say is, and get into with this, because I want to keep this really in the area of these fruit of the Spirit.
Yep.
For you personally, what is one? And I'll answer for myself too.
Yeah.
What is one of these fruit of the Spirit that has helped you enjoy the life you actually want versus idealize what could have been and then feel let down because of it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, give it to me again though.
So which one of these fruit of the Spirit have you experienced, and by experiencing it and using it and practicing it, because of doing that, you've then experienced the life you actually want instead of maybe being let down by not experiencing the life you've always dreamed of?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Thanks. I know. Literally just thought of it now.
Oh,
but
right.
We're going with it.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I guess, man, the what comes to mind would be gentleness.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I growing up was an angry kid. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It doesn't. I desire to seek counseling to like figure it out. I just haven't made that step in my life yet. But like, so I grew up, and my parents divorced when I was 1, and my mom remarried to my current stepdad when I was 4. And so like, I don't actually remember any of those events happening. However, I still had that like stepfather syndrome where I was like angry, and I always felt misunderstood. And so I like lashed out a lot. I got in a lot of trouble growing up, and I'd like punch walls. There's like holes in my bedroom door still to this day back at my parents' house.
Sure.
And I don't know exactly what happened. I feel literally more gentle in who I am as a person, and that is nice.
That's awesome.
You know, like that's the life I actually want. Like, I didn't want to be angry. I don't know. exactly understand why I was so angry as a kid, and the only reason I can I don't have a reason for why I'm so gentle other than like God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's one of the fruits of the Spirit that I've literally experienced in my life. That's changed my life, and that is like I enjoy living. Like that's the life I actually want.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. How about yourself?
For me, it's joy.
Yeah.
I've always been a happy person, like generally like a positive demeanor. That's been the case. But I think for me, I mean, as you get older, you have family, you have kids, you can get so run down into the midst of just the stuff you got to do. Mm-hmm. Like it can get to this feeling of you're just going through the motions to pay the bills, to get to work, to take care of the house, to mow the lawn, to whatever the things are. But especially with Meg, like to be able to choose joy and choose to experience joy and to look for it, to find it and like steal it. We use that word a lot, right? To steal joy.
Okay.
It's been really fun because, I mean, it's been a really full season for us just because of all the shifts and changes of both of our lives and work lives and all those kind of stuff and kids. But in the midst of that, choosing to steal joy has allowed me to even be able to think to this to myself. This is the life I actually want. It's really hard. Yeah. It's not the life I dreamed of and like whatever idyllic idea, but I don't want that life anymore. Yeah. This is the life I actually want, and I can steal all kinds of joy in the middle of it, and it's wonderful. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I can relate to that just when you say that, like thinking about particular weird little things, and part of it is just like being a new dad. Totally. And watching Daniel do all these crazy new things. He took his first step in Mexico. No way. Yeah, that's so exciting. That's like a cool thing. Like he took his first step in Mexico. Like, you're gonna live that one forever. Yeah. You hear that from you. Yep. But like just like the little things like that. Life is crazy, chaos all around you, and then all of a sudden you look over and like he just like turns his head and smiles at you, you know, and like just smiling because he saw you. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing. I don't care if it ruins the rest of my day because this is special. That's awesome. Similar to what you were saying. Fantastic, man. Yeah. That's a good picture of it. If you're listening in and you're thinking to yourself, I mean, answer this for yourself. Like, what's the fruit of the Spirit that for you is the defining thing that helps you experience the life you actually want in the midst of maybe difficulty, a struggle, or hardship? What is it that helps you experience that? And why is it actually better than the life everybody told you were supposed to dream about? Mm-hmm. And with that's the end of this Unscripted. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The round table at a square table. Love it. As we talk about sermon series stuff and dig into it a little bit further. If you want to like us, you can like us at the Instagram at RCC Unscripted. You can follow on any of the podcast things, so Apple or Spotify or on YouTube, and share it. If this is something that was helpful for you and meaningful for you, you should share it with somebody who you think it would be helpful to as well. That'd be an awesome thing. With that, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, thanks for having me, Sam. Appreciate it as always. Thanks, Dan. I love having you on here. This is a great conversation. I appreciate you. Awesome. Have a good week, everybody. Bye-bye.